Hello damsels and knights, I'm Sam Godwin, and welcome to my channel. This time I will show you, in short, my personal top 10 Eastern Roman emperors ranking. Remember, it's just personal opinion, so don't take it too seriously. Let's get to business. With him started a new phase in the Eastern Roman Empire story. He oversaw the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 and a period of relative stability and economic growth that will continue under his successors. He defended the security of the empire from his enemies with many diplomatic moves that will keep the Balkan and Eastern frontier stable after his death. He also kept some kind of balance on the religious front, which in the future will not be that easy. An overall good emperor that kept the empire going. The founder of the Isaurian dynasty brought order to the state after a period of instability called the 20 Years' Anarchy. At the start of his rule, he successfully defended Constantinople from the Arabs during the siege of 717 to 718. He also started a revision of the Dhammatas in Anatolia and maintained order on the Balkan frontier. He reformed the Codex of Roman laws for the first time since the times of Justinianus. Overall, he was a good emperor, but he started the iconoclasm controversy, which will bring instability to the social life of the empire. Despite his humble origins, he rose through the ranks of the empire until he became vice-emperor in 866. A year later, he killed the emperor and crowned himself the new ruler of Byzantium. Basil proved to be an effective and efficient ruler. He initiated a complete revision of Roman laws and started the reconquest of some parts of southern Italy. With him began the Macedonian dynasty, which would bring a golden age of stability and prosperity to the empire. A very good ruler and administrator who continued the work of his father, such as completing the revision of Roman laws and further conquering some parts in southern Italy, and even retake some lands in Anatolia. He kept a relative stability inside and outside the empire, continuing the cultural and economic growth of the empire. Heraclius inherited an unstable empire with many ongoing wars. He was a good general and also a good ruler, initiating reforms to rebuild and strengthen the military and the organization of the state. Also under him, Greek became increasingly the dominant language in state affairs. But most importantly, he successfully ended the exhausting and very difficult decades-long war with the Sassanid Empire in the Middle East after the Battle of Nineveh in 627. Sadly, peace lasted only a few years, as he lost all the territories from Syria to Egypt that he had hardly fought for, to the Arabs, after the disastrous Battle of Yarmouk in 636. But I don't think he could do much to stop them. The Romans weren't ready for another war, and the enemy had on their side one of the greatest generals of the Middle Ages, the Sword of Allah, Khalid ibn Walid. The founder of the Comnenian Restoration, which initiated a new and last golden age for Constantinople. After decades of crisis and bad emperors, he worked hard to reform and save an empire in trouble. He started the reconquest of Anatolia and defended Greece against the Normans. He laid the foundation for the rebirth of the empire that will continue under his successors. He was a great ruler, whose work will rebuild a strong and powerful Eastern Roman Empire. A very underrated emperor, probably the best underrated emperor. He was an effective administrator and a great ruler. Under him, the empire became stable and strong. Economic growth and cultural revival continued, and the reconquest of the East, begun under his father, was carried on successfully. He was a great emperor, and he would be third, but his successor pushed the empire's power and growth even further. Honorable mention. These emperors didn't make the list, but they deserve a mention. He was a very good general who defended the borders in the west and in the east. He was also a good administrator with his monetary reforms that tried to restore some economic power to the empire. Unfortunately, his reign saw little peace, and he was killed and succeeded by one of the worst emperors ever, Phocas. These men were the key rulers in the restoration of the Eastern Roman Empire after the Fourth Crusade. Jonas massively expanded and enriched the Nicene Empire, leaving a strong state for Michael, who would bring Constantinople under Roman rule again in 1261 and continued the work to make the empire stronger. The empire was limited to Constantinople, the Peloponnese and Thessaloniki, but Manuel, being a good administrator and diplomat, was able to defend these territories despite the Ottoman attempts to conquer Byzantium on several occasions. The last Roman emperor deserves a mention as he defended Constantinople during the siege of 1453, dying like a brave man on the battlefield for his city. The height of Komnenian power, and probably the last time Byzantium was a powerful and relevant state in Europe. He continued his father's work, making the state more stable and prosperous. He further expanded his domains, and even tried to retake Egypt and South Italy after centuries from the last time. Sadly, he did not leave the empire to a worthy successor, and the reconquest of Egypt and Italy failed, but these things cannot overshadow his work. His legacy speaks for itself, from the Codex of Roman Laws, the Hagia Sophia, to the many reforms and conquests that were made during his life. He should be first, but all the wars he fought had a cost too great in the economic, military, and social sphere to ignore. Also, the plague surely didn't help. I don't blame him for following the dream of reuniting with Rome, but unfortunately his goal had a very high cost that will cause instability and problems in the decades to come. Simply the greatest. Thanks to the work of his predecessors and his administrative and military skills, he brought the empire to its highest level of military and economic power since the times of Justinianus. Under his leadership, the centuries-long enemy of Eastern Rome, the Bulgars, were definitely defeated after a decades-long war. His 50-year reign was a period of relative peace and stability, which only improved as the emperor grew older. His main fault was simply that he did not marry anyone and had no worthy successor. But he has a very epic nickname like the Bulgar Slayer. So, we arrived at the end of the ranking. Thanks for your time, and don't forget to subscribe.